Kaboom! The day my wife, Major Sarah Reynolds, rolled into our new suburban neighborhood. The air crackled with tension, not from her military precision, but from the HOA tyrant who was about to meet her match. It was a scorching July afternoon. In 2025, the sun blazing down on our new two-story home with its wraparound porch and blooming crepe myrtles. Sarah, a decorated Army logistics officer with 12 years of service, had just returned from a grueling year-long deployment in Kuwait, where she'd orchestrated supply chains under pressure that would make most people crumble. She pulled up in a U-Haul truck, its sides scuffed from countless military moves, packed with her desert-tan duffel bags, a few sturdy crates of personal gear, and mementos from her service, a folded flag, a shadow box of medals, and a worn journal from her time overseas. I stood in the driveway, heart pounding, ready to welcome her to our fresh start. Our kids, Lily, 8, and Max, 10, were buzzing with excitement, waving a glittery welcome home Major sign they'd spent days crafting. The poster board sparkling in the sunlight. This was supposed to be a moment of joy, a new chapter after years of base housing and temporary quarters. Sarah, in her faded Army t-shirt and cargo pants, her auburn hair pulled back in a practical bun, hopped out of the U-Haul with a tired but radiant smile. Her hazel eyes, sharp from years of scanning logistics reports and war zones, softened as she hugged Lily and Max, who nearly tackled her with their enthusiasm. I was about to join the group hug when a shadow loomed across the lawn. Enter Karen, the neighborhood's HOA president and self-appointed guardian of community standards, striding toward us like a general in her lime green tracksuit, sunglasses perched on her head like a crown, and a clipboard clutched like a weapon. Karen had been the talk of the cul-de-sac even before we signed the lease, notorious for her relentless enforcement of petty rules, finding the Wilsons for a not-compliant mailbox and sending cease and desist letters over Mr. Garcia's unauthorized bird feeder. Karen's eyes locked onto the U-Haul, parked temporarily in our driveway as we unloaded Sarah's gear. "That truck is an absolute eyesore," she screeched, her voice cutting through the summer air like a drill sergeant's whistle, startling Max into dropping his corner of the sign. "It's blocking the aesthetic of the street, and it's against HOA regulations." Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, drawn by the commotion, their faces a mix of curiosity and dread. I stepped forward, trying to defuse the situation. "Karen, my wife just got back from a deployment. We're moving in. The truck will be gone soon." But Karen wasn't interested in reason. Her sunglasses slid down her nose as she jabbed a manicured finger at Sarah. "I don't care where she's been. Rules are rules, and that monstrosity is a violation." Sarah, wiping sweat from her brow, set down a crate marked Kuwait 2024 and turned to face Karen. Her posture was relaxed but radiated the quiet authority of someone who'd coordinated convoys under fire. "Ma'am," she said, her voice steady as steel, "we're unloading our belongings. The truck's temporary, and we'll move it within the hour." Her tone was polite but carried a don't-push-me edge, honed from years of commanding respect in high-stakes environments. Karen, oblivious to the powerhouse she was facing, scoffed, "Temporary or not, it's unacceptable. I'm calling the police." She whipped out her phone, dialing 911 with the fervor of someone reporting a national emergency. Lily clung to my leg, whispering, "Is Mom in trouble?" I ruffled her hair, grinning. "Oh, sweetie, Karen's the one in trouble." Sarah caught my eye, her lips curling into a mischievous smirk that I'd seen before, usually right before she outmaneuvered an obstacle, whether it was a supply chain snag or a stubborn superior officer. "Let her make the call," she said, her voice low but laced with amusement. As Karen ranted to the dispatcher about a suspicious vehicle and disruptive newcomers, neighbors began gathering on their lawns, sensing a showdown. Mr. Garcia, still bitter about his bird feeder, leaned against his fence, sipping iced tea and smirking. The Wilsons, mailboxed rebels, whispered to each other, phones already out to record the drama. Karen paced, her tracksuit glowing like a warning signal, completely unaware that she'd just picked a fight with a woman who'd faced far worse than an HOA clipboard. I could almost hear the ticking of a time bomb, and I knew this was about to be a story our neighborhood would never forget. The police cruiser pulled up with a lazy flash of lights, and Officers Martinez and Chen stepped out, their faces betraying the exhaustion of being summoned for what was clearly a trivial call. The summer heat shimmered off the pavement, amplifying the tension as Karen launched into a theatrical tirade that could have rivaled a courtroom drama. Her lime green tracksuit seemed to glow brighter with every word, her sunglasses now pushed back on her head like a makeshift tiara. "This woman is blatantly disrespecting our community," she bellowed, jabbing her clipboard toward the U-Haul as if it were a smuggler's caravan parked in her pristine cul-de-sac. "That unauthorized vehicle is ruining the neighborhood's aesthetic, and all this military junk in the driveway is a disgrace." She gestured wildly at Sarah's duffel bags and crates, one of which bore a faded Kuwait 2024 stencil, as if they were evidence of a crime. Neighbors gathered on their lawns, drawn by the commotion. Mr. Garcia sipped iced tea, smirking, while the Wilsons recorded the scene. their phones glinting in the sun. Karen's voice rose to a fever pitch, her accusations piling up like a poorly planned logistics chain. These people just moved in, and they're already causing chaos. I demand you remove that truck immediately, she insisted, turning to officers Martinez and Chen with the confidence of someone who thought she owned the badge. Martinez, a broad-shouldered man with a calm demeanor, scribbled in his notebook, but his eyes flicked toward Sarah with curiosity. Chen, wiry and sharp-eyed, crossed her arms, her expression hovering between amusement and annoyance at Karen's use of military junk. Lily clung to my leg, whispering, "Why's she so mad, Daddy?" I patted her head, grinning. "Just wait, kiddo, Mom's got this." Sarah stepped forward, her posture straight as a flagpole, her faded army t-shirt clinging to her frame from the heat of unloading. The sun caught the dog tags tucked under her collar, a subtle reminder of her service. "Major Sarah Reynolds, United States Army," she introduced herself, her voice steady and commanding. "The kind that could cut through the chaos of a war zone. Supply depot. We're moving into our new home. The truck's temporary, and we'll have it out of here within the hour." Her words were polite but carried the weight of someone who'd coordinated convoys under fire and wasn't fazed by a clipboard-wielding busybody. Officer Chun's eyes softened. "Thank you for your service, ma'am," she said, her tone genuine. Martinez nodded, clearly impressed, his pen pausing over his notebook. Karen's face flushed a shade redder than the crepe myrtles lining our street. "She's lying," she sputtered, her voice cracking with indignation. "She's no major. She's just some loudmouth trying to dodge the rules." The accusation landed like a grenade, bold and reckless, drawing gasps from the growing crowd of neighbors. Mr. Garcia nearly choked on his tea, and the Wilsons zoomed in with their phones. Sensing a viral moment, Sarah didn't flinch. With the calm of someone who'd faced worse than HOA wrath, she reached into her cargo pants pocket, pulled out her military ID, and handed it to Martinez. The card, worn but official, bore her rank, name, and a photo of her in dress uniform, her medals gleaming. Martinez inspected it, his eyebrows climbing, and passed it to Chen, who gave a small, approving nod. "Checks out," Martinez said, handing it back with the respectful, "Major Reynolds." Karen, undeterred and oblivious to the hole she was digging, doubled down. "I don't care what that card says. Rules are rules, and that truck is a violation." Her clipboard shook as she waved it, her voice now shrill enough to scare the birds from the trees. The officers exchanged a glance, their patience visibly thinning. Sarah tilted her head, her hazel eyes locking onto Karen's with a glint of amusement. "Actually, Karen," she said, her tone dropping to a level that could silence a room of rowdy soldiers, "I am also the new community outreach coordinator for the local VA. I'll be working with these officers' department to support veterans and their families." The air seemed to freeze. Martinez's jaw dropped slightly, and Chen coughed to hide a grin. Karen's face went from betrayed to a ghostly white, her sunglasses slipping down her nose as her clipboard sagged. "You, what?" she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Martinez cleared his throat, turning to Karen. "Ma'am, this is a misunderstanding. The truck's no issue, and we've got other calls to handle." Neighbors erupted into muffled laughter, and I swear I saw Mr. Garcia snap a photo of Karen's stunned expression for the neighborhood group chat. Just when we thought Karen had learned her lesson, she was back, her HOA vendetta burning hotter than the July sun. This time, she set her sights on a small, glittery welcome home. Major sign that Lily and Max had painstakingly crafted. To celebrate their mom's return, the sign, propped up in our front yard on a wooden stake, was a burst of color red, white, and blue poster board covered in sparkles, with Major written in wobbly, heartfelt letters. It was the kids' way of honoring Sarah's service, a symbol of their pride after a year of missing her. But to Karen, it was a personal affront, an unapproved display that dared to disrupt her vision of neighborhood perfection. It was a quiet Saturday morning. A few days after the U-Haul fiasco, Sarah was in the garage, unpacking her tools, her way of decompressing after years of high-stakes logistics in war zones. The hum of her electric screwdriver filled the air as she assembled a workbench, her hands steady and precise. I was inside helping Lily and Max with breakfast when Karen's voice pierced the calm, as shrill as a siren. "Take that sign down, right now," she bellowed, standing in our driveway, her lime green tracksuit practically glowing with indignation. Her sunglasses were perched on her head, and her clipboard was clutched like a battle shield. "It's an unauthorized display, and it's ruining the neighborhood's aesthetic," she declared, pointing at the sign as if it were graffiti on a cathedral. Sarah set down her screwdriver, wiped sawdust off her hands, and stepped out of the garage, her army t-shirt streaked with grime. Her hazel eyes narrowed slightly, but her face remained calm, the kind of composure that comes from facing real "Karen," she said, crossing her arms, "it's a kid's sign, made for me by my children. It's staying." Her voice was firm, carrying the authority of someone who'd managed supply chains under missile alerts. Lily and Max peeked out from the front door, their eyes wide with worry. Is she gonna take our sign, Mom? Max whispered. Sarah gave them a reassuring smile. Not a chance, buddy. Karen, undeterred, puffed up like a peacock. I'm the HOA president, and I decide what's allowed. That sign violates Section 3.2 of the bylaws, she snapped, flipping through her clipboard as if it held the 10 Commandments. Neighbors began gathering, drawn by the commotion. Mr. Garcia with his iced tea, the Wilsons with their phones ready to record, and Mrs. Lee, who'd been fined for her too bright porch light. Karen, sensing an audience, dialed 911 with theatrical flair. There's a woman vandalizing the neighborhood with an illegal sign, she told the dispatcher, her voice dripping with exaggerated urgency. The neighbors exchanged amused glances, and Mr. Garcia muttered, "Here we go again." Officers Martinez and Chen arrived, their cruiser pulling up with a weary sigh of its engine. They stepped out, their expressions screaming, "Not Karen." Again, Martinez, broad-shouldered and patient, rubbed his temples, while Chen, sharp-eyed and quick-witted, scanned the scene. Karen launched into her complaint, pointing at the sign and accusing Sarah of defying community standards. Sarah greeted the officers with a nod and a handshake, her dog tags glinting under her collar. "Officers, it's just a kid's sign," she said, gesturing to Lily and Max, who stood nervously by the door. "I'd be happy to pour you some lemonade if you want to talk this out." Her offer was genuine, her tone warm but professional. Disarming the tension, Martinez glanced at the sign, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Looks like a nice gesture, Major," he said, recalling her rank from their last encounter. Chen peeked at the glittery masterpiece and chuckled. "My kids would love something like that." They turned to Karen, whose face was now a volcanic shade of red. "She's a troublemaker," Karen insisted, her voice cracking. "That sign's got to go." Chen, barely hiding a grin, leaned in. "Ma'am, she's no trouble. We know exactly who Major Reynolds is. You might want to check the news." The neighbors erupted into muffled laughter, and Mrs. Lee snapped a photo of Karen's stunned expression, already typing in the group chat. Martinez added, "Let's not waste any more time here, Ms. Karen. The sign's fine." Karen's clipboard shook as she realized she was losing her grip, her HOA reins slipping through her fingers like sand. Karen's HOA empire didn't just crack, it shattered into a million pieces. Like a poorly planned logistics chain under Sarah's expert scrutiny. The moment Officer Chen told Karen to check the news, the ground beneath her shifted, but she had no idea the full magnitude of her misstep. Unbeknownst to Karen, Sarah's arrival had made headlines beyond our cul-de-sac. The Suburban Sentinel had published a front-page story that morning. Army hero joins VA as community outreach coordinator. The article detailed Sarah's 12-year career coordinating supply chains in Kuwait under missile alerts, earning a Bronze Star for her leadership, and now transitioning to a civilian role to support veterans and their families. As the new VA coordinator, Sarah was set to work closely with the local police, advising on programs to integrate veterans into community life and support mental health initiatives. In short, she wasn't just a major. She was a bridge between the military, the community, and the very officers Karen kept dragging into her petty crusades. Chen's words hung in the air, and Karen's face morphed from volcanic red to a ghostly white, her clipboard trembling like a leaf in a desert storm. What do you mean? Check the news," she stammered, her voice barely audible, her sunglasses slipping down her nose. Martinez, suppressing a grin, pulled out his phone and scrolled to the Sentinel article, holding it up for Karen to see. The headline blazed across the screen, accompanied by a photo of Sarah in her dress uniform, her Bronze Star pinned proudly to her chest. "This is Major Reynolds," Martinez said, his tone carrying a mix of respect and amusement. "She's our new VA liaison, starting next week. I'd say she's got more authority here than your clipboard." Chen, leaning against the cruiser, added with a smirk, "Ma'am, you've been calling us out to hassle the one person we're supposed to meet with for our veteran outreach program." The neighbors, who'd gathered in a loose semicircle around our yard, erupted into a mix of gasps and stifled laughter. Mr. Garcia, still clutching his iced tea, nearly spilled it as he guffawed. The Wilsons, phones still recording, zoomed in on Karen's stunned expression, already drafting posts for the neighborhood group chat. Mrs. Lee, who'd been fined for her porch light, whispered to her husband, "She's done for." Karen's eyes darted around, searching for an escape from the growing crowd. Neighbors she'd terrorized with fines for non-compliant mailboxes, too bright holiday lights, or unauthorized bird feeders. They all sensed the tide turning, their whispers building into a hum of collective triumph. Karen tried to backtrack, her voice wobbling like a poorly secured crate. I didn't know. I'm just trying to keep the neighborhood nice." But her excuses fell flat, drowned out by the weight of her own arrogance. Sarah, ever the diplomat, stepped forward, her army t-shirt streaked with garage dust, but her presence commanding respect. "Karen," she said, her voice calm but carrying the steel of someone who'd faced real threats. "I've dealt with supply chain breakdowns and war zones and hostile negotiations. A kid's sign isn't a crisis. How about we focus on being neighbors instead of adversaries? The words were an olive branch, but they landed like a precision strike, exposing Karen's pettiness to the entire crowd. Martinez clapped, his applause slow and deliberate, and Chen snapped a quick photo of Karen's frozen expression, muttering, "This is going viral." The group chat exploded with memes. Karen's clipboard photoshopped onto a sinking ship. Sarah's military photo captioned "Major moves, major wins." Karen clutched her clipboard like a lifeline, her HOA reign crumbling as she slunk back to her house, the neighbors' laughter echoing behind her. Karen's reign of HOA terror didn't just end, it sank like a convoy stuck in a sandstorm, and the neighborhood emerged stronger, united by Sarah's quiet strength and a shared victory over petty tyranny. The fallout from Karen's showdown with Sarah spread like wildfire across our cul-de-sac by the next morning. The neighborhood WhatsApp group was ablaze with memes. Karen's lime green tracksuit photoshopped onto a sinking ship. Sarah's military ID captioned "Major Take Energy." Mr. Garcia, still nursing his grudge over his fine bird feeder, printed out the Suburban Sentinel article, "Army Hero Joins VA," and pinned it to the community bulletin board, where it became a local legend. Neighbors who'd lived under Karen's clipboard turned to Mrs. Lee, with her too bright porch light, the Wilsons with their non-compliant mailbox. Even the skateboarder teens she'd reported for loitering felt a collective "wait, lift." Sarah's stand had ignited a spark, and the neighborhood was ready to reclaim its freedom. The turning point came at the next HOA meeting, held in the community center a week later. Karen, clinging to her presidency like a captain to a sinking ship, tried to run the meeting with her usual iron fist, but the air was different. Neighbors who'd once sat in silence now raised their hands. Mrs. Lee proposed relaxing rules on outdoor lighting, citing Sarah's example of standing up for what matters. The Wilsons suggested a community art project, free from HOA fines. The teens, surprisingly present, pitched a skate park fundraiser, earning nods from parents who'd once grumbled about their noise. Karen, her sunglasses slipping down her nose, tried to shut them down, her voice shrill. "These ideas are preposterous. We have standards." But the crowd wasn't buying it. In a historic vote, fueled by Sarah's influence, the neighborhood ousted Karen as HOA president and elected Mrs. Wilson, who promised a no-drama approach. Karen stormed out, her clipboard left behind, and within days, she emailed her resignation, citing personal commitments. The group chat erupted, with virtual cheers, and Mr. Garcia posted a gif of a victory dance. Sarah, true to her army-honed leadership, didn't gloat. Instead, she turned the moment into a chance to unite the neighborhood. She organized a block party, inviting every neighbor, even Karen, though we all knew she'd stay away. The event was set for a sunny Saturday, transforming our backyard into a festival of unity. Sarah's workbench, a sturdy oak piece she'd built in the garage, became the centerpiece for a potluck feast, covered with casseroles, samosas, and pies. Lily and Max's "Welcome Home, Major" sign stood proudly in the yard, glitter sparkling as kids ran around with water balloons, their laughter echoing. Sarah, in a clean army t-shirt, mingled with neighbors, her dog tags glinting as she shared stories of Kuwait, not the war stories, but the funny ones, like the time her team improvised a birthday cake from MREs. Her warmth disarmed everyone, turning strangers into friends. Officers Martinez and Chen stopped by, off-duty in jeans and t-shirts, each holding a soda and swapping laughs with Sarah. "Major, you've got this place buzzing," Martinez said, clinking his can against hers. Chen, grinning, added, "Karen's probably still reading that article, trying to figure out where she went wrong." The neighbors raised a toast to Major Reynolds, our hero. Sarah, blushing but beaming, waved it off. "I just want a neighborhood where my kids can be kids," she said, her voice carrying the same authority that had silenced Karen. The U-Haul was long gone. The sign stayed, and the garage workbench stood as a symbol of Sarah's resilience. Mrs. Lee hung new porch lights, the Wilsons painted their mailbox blue, and the skate park fundraiser gained traction. Sarah's back to her tools, crafting a bookshelf for Lily and Max, and I'm just happy to have my hero home. So, Karen, if you're watching, maybe don't mess with a major who commands respect on and off the battlefield. Drop a like if you're Team Sarah, and subscribe for more stories of justice served.